Okay, I'm back. It's been a while. If anyone has been keeping track of the timestamp up here, it's been a couple weeks. I was on vacation, and I was away from my computer, so I got to take a break, and that included all this. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember what I was really doing. I tried to look back at some other videos, and I think I was in the throes of copying over some boilerplate stuff, but that might be done. I think I wrote this logic. Yeah, I wrote stuff for the authorizer, and I think it looks like I did some stuff for the database to create sites and users. Then I have ports. I think these were for the authorizer. Yeah. Okay. And then I think I was in the middle of this. I think I had like dummy stuff for the um, incoming adapter, port, and logic for all of these. And now I just need to fill them out. I believe that's where I was. That looks fine. So, okay. Let's go ahead and I guess I'll get into it. And if I'm missing anything, we'll find out pretty quickly. So I think I have these few endpoints, the ones that aren't like folded, are the ones that I wanted to get done as like an MVP. And I have my data model up here. It's all starting to come back to me a little bit. It's a little fuzzy. Okay, let's go ahead and figure out how to create a site. So I have incoming stuff. My with error handling might not be the best name anymore because it does also inject auth. So maybe like incoming Lambda wrapper is better. And then all this will do is call the port. Was there anything else that needed to be put in with this? I think so. Maybe a name. Yeah, I know I need a URL. What do I? Because I'm only really I only really care about the ID because the script, I don't know what keeps flashing in this top left. It's something, I have a Razer mouse and keyboard, so I guess something's bugging out, but I've had some problems with it recently. It keeps like spamming 9. My keyboard keeps spamming 9, so maybe it switched from 9 to some other like macro that I don't know about, and it's like, I don't know. It's bugging out. I'm on a Mac, and these are definitely not really made for Mac, so that's probably not the best thing. But so if 9s randomly pop up on the screen, that's probably what's happening, and I'll have to mess around with it a little bit. Yeah, so with the side ID stuff, I don't think anything is required, but I think I could accept. That's kind of annoying up there. I could accept things if I would like, namely the name and the URL, but I think those would be optional. But those would be passed in the body. This is going to be called site ID, or maybe I'll just call it ID, and then I don't need this. Okay. Sure. And then over in the port, this will also just be an ID. I'll pass in the logic, and then in the payload. So what I want to pull out of the payload would be equivalent to like those optional fields. So the created timestamp I'm gonna do on my own. Owner, I will need the owner, but that can be done. That's auth, so that can be done in the logic. Admins will put the owner as an. Do we want to put the owner as an admin? Would the owner automatically be an admin? Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. Writers will be blank. Readers will be blank. Emails will be blank to start off with. The only things that I could think as of right now, and this is very easily changeable, would be the name and the URL if we wanted to optionally pass those in. So I'll go ahead and write that in now. But it's not necessary. So the payload should be sent to me as, see, it's called with error handling. I don't know if that's really the right thing to say because it does more than just handle errors. It also, if I can find it, it also parses the body out, right? I think I did that. No, I didn't do that. Was that in here? Ah, okay. Never mind then. So this is error handling and injects auth. Authentication. I shouldn't say auth because auth can be authentication or authorization, and this is authentication. Authorization is done by the logic. So let's see. In the payload, which is an object, I want to pull out URL and name. And take it as a payload. I mean, I guess I could put these in an object, or I could just leave them. It's kind of like quards, like keyword arguments in Python. I think I'll leave them for now, and then I'll maybe mess around with it later. If those aren't there, I'll just leave them as undefined, and then I won't use them in the logic. Because I think with DynamoDB, I think if you pass it something that doesn't exist, or something that is undefined, it just doesn't add it to the item. So I think it's fine to just pass that straight down. There's that. This is a unique ID. If not, that's all fine. And then my outbound port, this is going to be create site. And this site stuff. Okay, I'll look through that in just a second, but we'll keep unique ID and then I'll add an URL name. Oops. And then in the outbound ports, I'll also need to add and then if those don't exist, then they're just undefined. Then I want to add it to the user's list of owner. Is there a user list for admin? Owns admin. I'm thinking of, instead of doing this for owner, doing like owns, admins, writes, reads. I think that kind of I'll leave it the way it is. It's fine. So yeah, do I want to add them as an admin automatically or leave them as an owner? I mean, I guess if you own it, you kind of admin it, but I don't know if it needs to be explicitly stated. I'll just leave them as owner. They can add themselves as an admin if they want. And in sites.create, what does this do? Create owner, well, there's the URL. I just didn't have it added in before. Interesting. URL and name. This will be name or URL. This isn't required though. So if I'm not making this required, then, okay, that's all good. If I'm not making this required, then these two attributes may or may not be set, and then I think, no, I think that's fine. I think that's okay. What is the new site ID? How did I, okay, yeah, that's right, because I'm doing nothing, yeah. We're good, we're good. Another thing I've seen that seems somewhat popular in like privacy focused site analytics is having your analytics be public, which I thought was an interesting idea. And I think if I wanted to do that in the future, what I would do is come in here and add a field, something like public, true. Oh, that's not how you do it in JavaScript. True or false, something like that. I'm not going to do that now, but could be something in the future. I'll add it in. And let's see. That's how we create a site. I think that's it, right? Well, let's see what users does. Users.add site. I think it's just an update. Add site list. Oh yeah, it takes the list. So you add site ID to a given list. And for this one, it would be owner. So you couldn't do it for owner. Right, so I think right now I have it set up for owner, right? So you can't add site as an owner because owner is, where's user? Oh, owner is a set. Did I change that in the design and not in the code? Right, owner is a string, not a set. So yeah. I think this is valid, but not if this is valid for lists, but not as an owner. Because I think if you're an owner, so I probably have to write another little cover function. Add owner, or add user dot new site. I don't know how to make this sound right when you're reading the code. Users dot maybe new owned site. Users dot new site. Users dot new. I'll say new owned. This thing is really just like, and the crazy thing is, I think oh, I have to actually uninstall it. maybe that'll fix that. I'll do new owned site, newly created site, and then any logic that has to happen for a newly created site will go on this port. I wouldn't need that, and then this would be set, and this would be list types owner, or yeah, site list types. Let's do owner adder and then site ID, and this will just be that. Oh, I'm very wrong. Because this is for the owner, this isn't for a site. A site, it is just a string. This is for the owner, or the user, not the owner, sorry. This is for the user, which is valid because the user has a set. I was looking at the wrong item type. My fault. Okay, so I was right before. So they do add, we do add the site ID to the user's owned sites. Okay, so that's creating a site, and now the next thing we want to make sure we can do is after we create it, we want to be able to get it. Or get, oh, this isn't a specific site, this is just get all sites. So when we get it, this would return site information or sites. This would be like an object of sites. And this, I think I'll spread because this is going to return pretty much this structure. Yeah. Oh, when I create a user, I just saw that. Okay, yeah, I do that. Okay, we're gonna go on there. I didn't remember doing that, but well done, Thomas of the past. Okay, so this is the site stuff. I think all that's fine. This will be different with events because it's not the body. Well, I wouldn't even need a body. I don't need the payload even. The reason I don't need the payload is because it's a get and there are no, there aren't even query parameters that I have for it. So this will just be sites, it'll just be a straight pass through. And then this is, I think users read, it returns all that information. And the ports, I think I had a port for this. For read user, this should be down here. Oops. This is read user, this is user data. So my logic, what do I need for read user? It's just a user ID. So there's that should pull it all in. This is user data, and then so I think there's a way to pull out everything but let's see. I've done this before because it's kind of weird, the syntax of this. So what I don't want, well, I could add new things to user, but so yeah, I'll just pull out the things that I want. Well, whatever. Sites, owner. what I was going to do is use like a funky little spread operator thing. So I'll go ahead and do what I was going to do. I was going to pull out created. You pull out created, and then you spread the rest of this on user data. Then what happens is everything in here, so there would be a new constant called sites, and sites would be everything out of this object except created. So sites would contain all of this, but the reason I'm not going to do that is because I might add other like metadata in the future to the user's data, or the like kind of like profile data. 1 second. And when I add in new like profile data, I don't want to have to go in each time and say, you know, take out these extra things and only leave the user stuff. So instead what I'm going to do, that's another way to use the spread operator, which is kind of cool. Instead what I'm going to do is selectively, pretty much instead of blacklist, I'll whitelist. So I have admin, I have writer, and I have reader. I like Vim and I use Vim, but in situations like this where you're doing a lot of copying and pasting across different files, in my opinion, it makes a lot more sense to use something like VS Code, because maybe it's just because I'm not as good at Vim as I would like to hope I am, but it just seems so much more efficient to do it this way, in my humble opinion. So that should pull all the site stuff out and return it. It'll propagate up through the port and then up through the incoming adapter back to the Lambda. And this should not be created. Where is that even supposed to come? I don't even have the constant imported. What am I doing? I think that's in here. Yeah, okay. So this one would be that, and this comes from /op/config, and that will also need to be in here, but it's created. That will also need to be in all these other ones that I made. Oops. Okay, there. Now we're back to where we should be. I didn't import that. I don't know why I didn't. Whatever. That's in now, and that'll just return the sites. It'll spread the sites, so that'll be the 4 owner, admin, reader, writer lists. And I think that's okay. So there's our post and our get. Now if you want to do it by ID, let's see. Oh yeah, and I left that there because this was the SNS integration. I think I did the SNS integration already too, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Do I have an... I do. I just don't have anything for it. Okay, so I need to do this guy as well. I'll need to try to remember that. Okay. And when yeah, that's right. I don't, did I have it in here? In the stats, I want to have a TTL. Yes. And I will have a TTL from the start because I want to I'll just let everything expire after like a month. For now. but I need to get the archival stuff in place. Yeah. Did I have something in the data? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. There we go. Let's see. That's my get my post for my site. Now if I want to get a site specifically, what do I want to return when I get a site ID? The site item in DynamoDB, just everything? I could just do everything. I'll cover up TTL because that's like implementation specific, but all of the statistics and oh no, I don't want statistics. Why did I say this? Or maybe I should do it for today. So the site item, this one, sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I think the get site ID should only be should only be like the kind of metadata of the site. And then maybe I should have another get, which is for statistics specifically. And then we'll do like query parameter, start date, start date and end date, and then we can get within there, and then in the future we can like paginate. So I will also need to add that in. That's under stats, right? Yeah. So I have the post and then I'll also have a get. So I'll just go ahead and copy all this and also paste it in here. And I now have my endpoint. Okay. Where was I? I got quite sidetracked by that. Maybe like site info or site data. And then I'll just spread that. That's from the port. There should be nothing in the body. This is a get. Yeah, I'll go like that. In my port, this is just a pass-through. Payload. And my logic. Do I have a thing written in the database for this yet? Like a read site? No, I do not. What does that look like? Because I have something similar. Alright. There's that for users. I'm going to do it for a site. And then this will have a create and a read. Site ID. Site data. And the site data that will be returned will look like what? We have owner, admins, writers, readers, emails, name, and URL. And created? Do I add created in there? What does user have? User puts it in. So user has all of it. Okay. Owner, this should be that. Then we got admins, writers, readers, created. I need emails, name, URL. So emails. Okay, name. And URL. Okay. That's site data. Like that's fine. The secondary ID for a site, yeah, it's not just secondary ID, it's site secondary ID. That will read it. Instead of user, we're going to call this site. And instead of user data, we're going to call this site data. Pull out the secondary ID. Oh, what am I doing? That wouldn't have worked. Yeah, there we go. Pull out the secondary ID, you're left with the site data, so I guess another thing that would be a part of this is an ID. And that would also be a part of the users. Right? Would be their ID. Yeah. And I think that's fine to add. I think that's fine to keep. Yeah. Yeah, that'll just throw everything back at them, and I think that's perfectly valid. So there's my site, and then I'll also need, similar to read user, I will need to read a site. Alright, there's how you read a site, and then back in here, this is get site by ID. Read site, I don't need unique ID, but I will need it, oh, this isn't a pass-through. I will need that unique ID to make sure that it's part of at least a reader. They need to be in at least one of the arrays for the site, or I guess in the future it needs to be public. Auth, and then I need site ID. I haven't really kept up with these doc strings very well. Or what is it called? JS doc comments? I don't know, but I haven't done a great job of keeping up with those. So there's my site data, but I do need to get the site ID and pull that out, and I think that would also be in here. Okay, and then in here. And that's from the event. I've done this before in the calendar API, so let me see how I did it before. So in here, the calendar ID is part of the path parameters. This is site ID. It's just called ID in this case. Okay. Yeah, so it'd be site / ID, and I'll just leave it called ID. I'll just have to know that. Actually, no. I'm gonna change it. Yeah. instead of ID, I'll make it site ID. So there's a site ID that's getting passed through index, through port, to logic, and that site ID is going to be used to read the site. Then we'll have site data, and then I need to check auth stuff. So if unique ID, this is going to be quite a large boolean. This will be return site data. So this is the good case, otherwise I'm going to throw an error. But I don't know what that error is going to be called. So I think, let's see, includes, I think JavaScript uses includes. I switch back between Python and JavaScript a lot, so I forget every once in a while what has what. So this one is includes. So I need if site data includes. That's not the end of this. Site data dot owner or admins, right? That's what it's called, admins. So I need to check this. Actually, writers or readers. And this is site data dot owner ID. So if they're not the owner, they're not in the admins, they're not in the writers, they're not in the readers, they cannot check. And maybe I'll write a little helper function or something for like site validation or like authorization, and pass in site data, unique ID, and then operation. Yeah, I might do that. And where am I here? Let's see. So pretty much what I just did. We'll have site data, user ID or ID, and then operation. I'll just copy that, and then we'll go from there. So the operation's pretty much going to be like a switch, right? I think I can make this more dynamic. So, and then the idea is in here I would call, let's whoops, there we go. Authorize user for site. There we go, and then this. Okay, and then in here, instead of all this, I'll call authorize user for site. Site data. I could even, Should I make the call for site data outside of the function or inside? Maybe I should make it a port. Maybe I should make this authorize user for site. Um, maybe I should do this in the port. I think that might make sense. And then make this called by everything. Yeah, so what I'm going to do instead is move it into the ports, and then we'll have the function, and you pass in a site ID, you pass in a user ID, or we'll switch that around because I think that's a little more semantic. Um, and then the business logic doesn't call that. The business logic would still call like read site, and then read site would call authorize. And then we get back to site data. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'll need to pass in this. And then I would get back site data. And then here I would return site data. Or this will throw the error for me. So I don't want that anymore. And then the ports, I'll have this, I'll have this, I'll have all this. So just need this. Move to trash and then here. Organize user for site, but that doesn't get exported. We have this is going to be an async function because it's going to call this. And then call that ID, site ID. It'll be the same signature here. Create site, you don't need any off. Anyone can create a site. Okay. Okay. And I think this makes sense. So in here, so I have to be very clear that here this unique ID string. I'll do an enum like I did in users. Okay. I think that's fine. And then this is now an operation type. Let's return site data. And if I'm reading the site, didn't I keep something out of there? No, I didn't keep anything. It's just a secondary ID. So I'm going to leave that. So this authorizes turn string site data. That's not a string, it's an object. Okay, So this will authorize the user. I need to fill in some of this logic. And then subsequent functions or ports rather. It's right to do this in a port. I don't know if this is where this logic should be. If this logic should be in a port or somewhere else. I don't think it should be in the business logic. I don't think it should be in the business logic. Right. I think it's valid to pass this in. So let's say I'm doing SQL. Let's say I'm not doing DynamoDB. If I'm doing SQL, I'd want to pass the unique ID in still. And then I'd want to pass a site ID in. And if it was SQL, I would just write a query to read the site, like select star, where site ID is equal to this and owner equals unique ID. And then that would be pulled automatically. I wouldn't have to do this extra call. But in this case, I have to do the extra call because I'm implementing with DynamoDB. And that should be hidden away from the business logic. The business logic doesn't care about that implementation detail. But should it be in the ports or in the database? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So let's finish up this guy here. So what I'm thinking is I can dynamically do this by checking different arrays depending on which operation is being done. So to read, you can be in any of these arrays. To write, you have to be in one of these arrays. And to delete, you have to be the owner. So no matter what, if someone's the owner, they're authorized. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll have a nope, it's not a const. Is authorized. No one is authorized from the start. You have to earn your authorization. If site data.owner, I think I got this backwards to be semantic. Semantic's not the right word for that, but okay. If the user is the owner, they can do whatever they want, right? They can do whatever they want. And then down here, what I'm planning on doing is it's gonna look not good for a second, but bear with me. If they're authorized from the site data, otherwise throw an error, and they can only become authorized if they're in the correct list. So now for these guys, what I'm going to do is they're going to depend on the operation. So what I'm going to do is const lists to check. This is going to just be an array, and then if operation equals operation types dot read oh, actually, if you're an admin, you can do whatever. So we'll start with that guy. And what is it? Push? Push? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna pretty much be adding in these lists. So if it's a read, it can be list check. This might not be the most main. Well, I'll do this right now, and then I'll finish talking about what I was thinking. So what I'm thinking is this is not necessarily the most maintainable thing because I'm using a bunch of if. This if is necessary. The next one is just a for loop. Um, these guys, not necessarily the most maintainable because I'm hard coding with this enum, but these operations I would say are fairly standard and people know them pretty well and they haven't changed in a lot of years, or if they have changed, it's been minor stuff. So I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, I think it's okay. So admins can do anything. If you're the owner, only the owner can delete. Yeah, so I can't do this actually. Yeah, because this would allow. Yeah. Again, not the most maintainable, I know. If it's delete, no one can. So let's do this just to cover all the bases and have all of these enums. Let's do this. Okay, and then this to check for each list if this stuff includes unique ID is authorized. So this will go through all of these lists that we just added depending on the operation type. If the user is in one of those lists, then they are authorized. Then we'll drop down here. If they're authorized, we return the site data. Otherwise, we're going to throw an error. And that error, I'm going to get from here. And that error is going to be something along the lines of unauthorized. Okay, there's that. And then in here, I'm going to add one for being unauthorized. So this is in my wrapper, my with error handling wrapper, so I need to add in the unauthorized error. What is this missing event error? I don't think I actually have that. I don't think that's supposed to be in there, which is fine. Unauthenticated? No. This one's not unauthenticated. This one is unauthorized, which might be the same thing. It might actually be the same code, but I'll write one in. I think it's in 401, right? Yeah, 401 unauthorized. Yeah, it's unauthorized, but it's also used to be unauthenticated. So I'll do it twice. Authorized. There's that guy, and then in here I'm going to add an authorized status code, and then that's unauthorized. It would have worked the same way, but it's fine. And then, okay, so that's the Lambda adapter util. That's good. That's fine. I want to import this to this guy right here. There's the unauthorized error, and then we'll throw a new unauthorized error. Yeah, I think that's what I was doing, right? Let's see. That was in here, right? No, it's in construct auth. How I threw it. Auth utils. This guy, throw new error. Okay, idle string. User authorized for this operation. Okay. And there's my authorization stuff. That gets called by the read site. That it returns the site data, so I can just pull it out of here, and then in here, when I do read site, it returns the site data. It'll throw an error otherwise. Excuse me. I guess for myself, I think in here I can do something like operation. Let's see. Unique ID, site ID, and operation. I think those would be helpful pieces of information to have if this error does get thrown. Okay. And then back in here, that should just throw all that site data up through here. And there's my get by site ID. And then for delete, I need that. This I just await. And I think for deletes, I don't think you return anything. I forget what I did before. I don't think you return anything, and I think you just return like a 201. Good, no output. And that's it. It's just a status code. Good, no output. No body. That's here. Make sure that that's actually in my config. Good, no output. Yep, it's 204. Pass my site ID through. And then my ports. So payload, I need a site ID. Site ID. Don't need anything there. I'm just waiting on it. And then in my logic, I have my auth, and I have my site ID. And then this, I don't need that. Don't need that. Delete site, unique ID, and site ID. That'll be in my port. And then I'm going to have site. I have user. I call it user ID in a lot of places and unique ID in other places. I don't know what it should be. I'll leave unique ID actually. Then this is not read. That'll be out delete site. There's unique ID and site ID. And then I need to authorize that. Unique ID and site ID. And we'll do await sites dot remove site ID. And then in here, it's just a remove, which is, it doesn't return anything. Just call ID. done this before, especially in here, so I'll just grab that, whatever it looks like, the removal code. It's pretty easy. Table, your ID, and then secondary ID, and that'll delete it. Then we have to expose it, and now it's exposed. And that should be deleting it. And then it's in there, and it's in there, and it just propagates up through. Okay. I think that's a decent amount. I think that's a good place to stop for now. I guess I'll do the stats get later. I'm not as concerned about that one right now, because now I should be able to actually like do stuff and clean up after myself. So maybe in the next one, we'll actually deploy this, debug anything that's broken, because invariably something will be broken, you know. That's fine, I understand. I wrote a lot of code before actually testing any of it, but that's kind of the nature of developing in the cloud a lot of times. In my opinion, I don't think you should necessarily try to test it locally, because what works locally may or may not work in the cloud. And especially as easy as it is to deploy something to a Lambda function, just deploy it to the Lambda function and test it there. Personal preference. So I'll go ahead and do that in the next video, and then we'll move forward. Then we'll probably actually try to finish up, because there's no actual logic behind that Lambda function. This post stats. And I need to write that one. So we'll do stats in the next. We'll test creating a site and deleting a site in the next one. We'll deploy it, test it, debug it. That might be the whole video, just like trying to debug it. If it goes smoothly, then I'll start on the statistics stuff. But I think for now it's good. So let me know if you like this stuff. Let me know if you're enjoying it, please. I guess comment, feel free to reach out to me if you want to use this kind of stuff. It's all open source. I try to push after I make a video, just so the code's up to date. But yeah, please use it if you're interested. I'm happy to share this stuff, happy to teach anyone, or learn with anyone if they'd like to. I shouldn't say teach, because I'm not claiming, nor am I a master at this stuff. I'm learning it all at the same time as everyone else. So yeah, let me know if you like it. But for now, that'll be it for today. Thanks.